Alright guys, Jameson and Alex here. Today we're going to be talking about the Mage Hand Magus fighter from Valda's Spire of Secrets. Almost every time I always say Spire of everything because of Xanathar's Guide, but it's not. It's Valda's.
It's Valda's.
Completely different things. Don't worry about it.
And it's secrets, and there's a bunch of them because this book is fat.
It is huge. We will be going through this for a long time.
Yes.
Good for us.
Good for us.
Anyways, that being said, if you're new to the channel or to the subclass series, what we're going to do is go through all the abilities gained in this subclass, and we're going to rate it based on its roleplay value, combat value, and overall class synergy, based on how the abilities gained improve on the base class abilities. Also, we have our D&D Beyond Players Bundle. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to be entered in that. And thank you again to our sponsors, Hit Point Press. Make sure you check out their new animated cards. They have a whole new set. It's really cool. High quality, like all their stuff.
Like all the stuff is.
Make sure you just constantly keep checking back in with Hit Point Press because they're pumping out stuff left and right. All kinds of new stuff constantly coming out.
We've got like the monthly monster highlight stuff, and there's a lot of really cool stuff that comes out from them.
Yeah, so support them, support us. All that being said, let's jump straight into it, guys. Mage Hand Magus Fighter. And
if you've been watching through any of the these Valda Spire reviews on a run here, you're going to start to see a theme of we kind of selected one of each. Kind of if you're looking through kind of chronologically, instead of doing like all the barbarian, all the bard, all the cleric. 2 months
of bard.
Yeah.
2 months.
We decided, let's kind of do like one of each, kind of go through. We started kind of picking what we thought was maybe the most interesting, unique, would kind of stand out. And when you get to fighter, you're thinking, oh, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to slap people with some hands, y'all.
Some magic hands.
Some magic hands. Spirit fingers, and yeah, that's what we get to do this one. It's fantastic. So, starting off at level 3, we have Mage Hand Master. When you choose this archetype, you learn the Mage Hand cantrip if you did not know it before. You can cast it with the following improvements. You can cast and control Mage Hand as a bonus action. You can summon 2 separate hands when you cast it. You control 1 or both of them when you use the spell. The spell's duration is infinite. Well, this is indefinite.
Same thing.
Same freaking thing. Ending only when you're knocked unconscious or you choose to end it. Your mage hands are stronger than normal, capable of lifting combined weight in pounds equal to 5 times your fighter level, and they are dexterous enough to perform any ability check you could normally perform with your hands. Sleight of hand checks, picking locks, opening things, maybe pushing or pulling certain objects as long as they aren't too crazy huge. And the biggest things to me, it allows for so much fun creativity in RP with what you could do with 2 magic hands. Like, I'm not touching nothing. Yeah, really. Who's controlling those things?
Also at level 3, we get combat hands.
Because we're not just RPing up in here.
Yes. While you are holding nothing in your hands, your mage hands can wield weapons. Each can wield a single one-handed weapon, or together they can wield a 2-handed weapon. That's just how it works, because 2-handed weapons need 2 hands. When you take the attack action on your turn, you can make 1 or more of your attacks through your mage hands against targets you can see within reach. You can add your intelligence modifier instead of your dex or strength to the attack and damage rolls. A mage hand not wielding weapon can be used to punch a creature within 5 feet of it, dealing 1d6 force damage on hit. So even if you do have them unwieldy, not wielding things, you can still
empty-handed.
You can still punch them, and it's 1d6. Which, I mean, to be fair, unless you're using like a greatsword or something, you're probably going to be doing 1d6, 1d8 anyways with the weapon. But you also have to also consider you can't hold any weapons. And if you cast a mage hand, you have to put the weapons in their hand ahead of time.
Right.
Or, well, not ahead of time because it has to appear, but basically, you got to have weapons for them to grab onto.
Yeah.
So you can't just they don't just appear with a spectral weapon. It's not a spiritual weapon.
No.
So just having that ability to just punch is going to probably come into play a lot more than you might think initially.
Because mage hand has a range.
Yes.
So it does allow you to attack over here, and then he's dead. Instead of using my movement speed to chase him down, my hand's already right there next to him. Pap!
Right.
Pop him in the nose.
And that way you can keep even a bow or something on you, so you can, if you want to split your attacks up a little bit, if you want to melee punch a couple dudes over here and then shoot some arrows at someone else, you can do that.
Yes.
Or you can shoot arrows at everything because that's how range works.
You can. Starting at level 7, You get handy maneuvers. You can use your mage hands to perform a number of combat maneuvers or tricks. While they aren't wielding weapons, you can use both of your hands together, emphasize both, this is not a each one can do this, to either grapple or shove a creature. When you do so, you add your intelligence modifier to the athletics check. Additionally, you can use your reaction to make an opportunity attack with one of your hands when a creature leaves its reach. So not only can you melee sword something, and something happens to run by one of your hands, you're just like, and punch him in the side of the head as he runs by. Yes. Also yes. It creates a lot of very interesting little fun things. Again, even in combat you could do, because you could try to
do some zoning.
Yeah, for sure. And just imagine, like, you just use your hands to grab something that your paladin over there is near, and just bonus, like, I'm not in any danger. I'm not grabbing the thing my hands are, so you deal with that, right?
Right. Level 10, you get War Hand. When you cast Mage Hand, you can form one of them into a much more powerful construct called a War Hand. Your War Hand is identical to the hand summoned by the spell Arcane Hand, or as some like to call it, Big B's Hand.
Yes.
Except that you must use its abilities as an action instead of a bonus action. Okay. Intelligence is your spellcasting ability for this spell. When you use any of the War Hand's abilities, you can use a bonus action to make a single attack with your other Mage Hand.
Yep.
So there you go.
So you give him a strong hand and a soft hand.
Yeah.
Boom. Whip. Lovely little combo. Hand Glide at 15. While 2 summon Mage Hands or a War Hand are within 5 feet of you, the hands can hold you aloft and carry you to your destination. You have a flight speed equal to your walking speed while the hands carry you. And again, as it specifies back earlier, this is, once these hands are out, they are indefinite unless you choose to end it or you get knocked unconscious. So you've got to just float around on your hand all day. You can. There's no limitations to that. And finally, at 18, we have Heavy Handed. You can summon 2 War Hands instead of Mage Hands when you cast the Mage Hand spell. You can use these abilities of both War Hands as part of the same action on your turn. Give them the old 1-2. Yes, please.
I'll take it. No, to be fair, you do that, you're foregoing all of your millions of attacks as a fighter. So you get 2 Big B Hand abilities, or you get your attacks.
Your 17 and a half attacks.
Yes. So,
of course, I still remember in Action Surge, you just give 4 wallops with the hands.
I mean, there you go.
God, that's gonna hurt.
Yeah. That being said, those are all the abilities gained in the subclass. So we'll move on to the rating portion of the video. First up is the roleplay value, asterisk as always. When talking about roleplay value, we're talking about interacting with the world around you, interacting with NPCs, non-combat scenarios, avoiding combat, basically things outside of the initiative order. Not talking about your class fantasy, history, lore, background, that's on you as a player. We can't rate you, but we can rate the abilities gained in the subclass and how they improve your potential in those roleplay scenarios. So, all that being said, looking at the Mage Hand Magus Fighter, first of all, the whole thing is built around Mage Hand, which already is a good RP.
It's a
cantrip.
wonderful little spell, especially for those who are creative.
Exactly, but not only that, you can use it as a bonus action, and you get 2 of them. So you can do all kinds of stuff with that, and they're buffed. You can carry more weight capacity, you can carry weapons, you can do all kinds of shenanigans with these things.
Yep.
So definitely some interesting use.
Scare the crap out of people at dark time, because I imagine like how ethereal they are. You can maybe play with that a little bit when you summon it, but at night times, like maybe this hand's kind of barely visible. It's like just floating sword, just slowly just meandering down the road.
Just like,
like he's just kind of walking down the sidewalk, or have it actually stuck in a shoe, and it's like
2 shoes just
like
yes.
It's like, I think I'm done drinking tonight.
So all of that is nice, but there are a lot of combat focuses on this subclass.
Yes.
There is the pseudo flying that you eventually get, where you can have the hands carry you, which is nice just to be able to fly around. Can also come into play a lot of times with exploration, chases, things like that aren't necessarily in combat. So that being said, you have your buffed Mage Hand, just in general, carrying and stuff like that, interacting, dexterous abilities that you can interact with stuff, and the flying. Those are the 2 main things you're getting on here. So we went with a 3.5 in the roleplay. Some solid stuff, but it is, I would say, a lot more focused on the combat side.
And I brought up the slapping of hands early for a reason. This one Jameson got to pick, and he found it, and I fell in love with it immediately. Because again, the creative options you have with something like this, with a spell, essentially, Mage Hand that eventually gets to become Arcane Hand, and eventually 2 of them. Granted, it is 18 to get the second one, but you get that first one at 10, which is not too far off. But even before 10, this helps address, fighter and barbarian specifically, and a monk really too, their biggest weaknesses, which are melee. Like you're so limited with your range as far as what the base has. Like you have access to like javelin or spears, something like that.
Bows.
That you could chuck. I mean, if you're a strength built thing,
right.
You're really limited. Of course, if you build a dex-based fighter, obviously, you'll be fine.
Right.
But with this, you're not building either of those things. You actually can lean hard into intelligence.
Yeah.
Even more so than like an Eldritch Knight fighter would be able to. It's kind of a strength and intelligence thing. You really could lean.
It's a little sketchy, but you can do
it. You could lean. At least where
you get all your saves with your Arcane Hand are going to be based on intelligence. So
yeah,
it's your whole class is built around it. So
right. I mean, you don't have to like say you dump strength by any means, but I mean, intelligence can easily become your primary stat.
Yeah. Instead
of this weird like balance between all the stats and things.
Right. You want to hit those minimums for wearing the heavy armor and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not dumping strength as a fighter. You're still going to be in there. But again, the fact that you can cast and control the mage hands as a bonus action, the fact that they can hold weapons for you, or you can attack themselves, or you can hit with a melee weapon or fire a weapon, and they can still hit with a weapon or punch a weapon. So you've got essentially 2 different attacking points, and for a extremely melee focused base class, this creates a lot of extra opportunities and a lot of creativity for positioning.
Right.
The fact that you can opportunity attack with the mage hands as well helps you make your use of your reaction more often, because a lot of times, besides opportunity attacks, it's not a ton of reaction opportunities for non-rogues and non-monks with their uncanny dodges and things like that, and their disengages and things like that. And of course, when it scales up to Warhand and becomes Arcane Hand essentially all the time, sweet heavens to mercy. Because, yes, you're thinking, okay, it's not as good as the regular Arcane Hand because it takes your action instead of your bonus action. Yes. But normally, if somebody wants to do that, they can only do that once or twice a day anyway.
Right. It's a 5th level spell.
It's a 5th level spell. I mean, eventually, you get a 3rd level 5th spell slot. 3rd level, 3rd, 5th level spell slot. Mercy.
So it's 18th level for wizards. Yeah. So that's a long ways off.
Okay. So you do eventually. I was saying. I thought the 5 was the highest level you got a 3rd slot of. See, my brain's on the right track.
Yes.
But the point is, it's not something you can just do all the time. The spell only lasts for a minute normally anyway. Concentration. So if you were to lose concentration as a sorcerer, wizard, warlock, bard,
however you get it,
or whatever, is gone. It ain't even going to last a minute, let alone if you're able to hold it for that long and use it for that long. These are out all the time.
Yeah.
Like there's no limitations to this. Yes, it's going to take your whole action to get the one punch off instead of getting it as a bonus action, but there's no limit to the resource or how often you can use it. It's just there all the time.
Yeah. You're foregoing your attacks for some utility, basically.
Yes. And the fact and the reach and the range, because this could be out there, it could be moved around and smack somebody. And if you are leaning more into your intelligence and less into your strength and maybe less into your dex than you would earlier, maybe your armor class isn't as high as the traditional fighter might be. You don't care as much because you can just play back with a ranged bow and with this hand and shoot stuff and punch stuff from a distance. Not to be in there as a fighter as much as you would otherwise have to be.
Yeah.
So, and of course, eventually you get to 18, you get the 2 big fat hands, which is the drain, which you can just whap. And again, I mentioned it earlier, but just the concept of action surging and giving a full-on, like, General Grievous, just like 4 combos with the Arcane Hand is going to be super
laid on thick.
Yeah, just mash somebody in. We went with a 4 out of a possible 5 on the combat again. And the biggest thing for me specifically, like I said, was it addresses and significantly helps fix base fighter's biggest weakness, which is melee and reach-based things where it lets you have melee, have range, both, and be able to reach with all kinds of different things at the same time, having 2 different attacking points between yourself and your hands.
Yes, and giving you some utility that most fighters don't have access to, outside like Champion or Battlemaster, maybe.
Yeah, because normally, fighters are about as even more so than barbarians. I think for the most part are just combat to combat to combat in base form,
pretty much. So yeah, all that being said, move on to the last portion, which is the synergy.
Yes.
And again, with the fighters, I mean, the main things you're doing on here is you're attacking can come into play. But there's not really tons of stuff to synergize typically with fighter because they are martial class and they're more on the simple side. You do have your action surge, second wind, stuff like that, but that's not typical too often that you get synergy with those things. Though with this, getting some arcane hand explosions with some action surge, could be some shenanigans.
Yes.
But yeah, there's that. All that being said, being able to attack from multiple points is nice. But if you were to go with a dex build, you could accomplish the same thing. To be fair,
yes.
But getting the extra utility with the hands is really nice, and the ability to have access to flying without having to rely on a caster to give you flying
or some other magic
is really nice to have as a martial class. The only other thing is if you do decide to go more of the intelligence route, it gets a little wonky because you're going to be messing either with your armor class with your dex. Or, you have to hit minimums with your strength if you want to wear heavy armor, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of consider that.
You might penalize your melee weapon damage and chance to hit with your...
So there's some cost to it, for sure.
It depends on how heavily you want to lean into the hands, but you can kind of be halfway between. You can really just be a regular fighter with the ability to do stuff, or you can lean hard into the hands being your main thing. And you can play it a bunch of different ways. Yeah,
for sure.
And the other thing I think I've kind of glossed over specifically in the combat section and want to touch on with the synergy is the fact that not only for yourself but for other martial members, you can at range choose to grapple somebody else with your hands.
Right.
It would take your action to attempt to do the grapple with your hands, but a lot of times, normally if you're grappling, you're kind of putting yourself anchored in that point as well. Right. So if there is something else that might be able to try to mess with your grapple, you're kind of putting yourself in trouble. But with this, they can be 30 feet away from you, and they're doing the grappling. You're just like, I'm over here. And it was like, I don't know what they're doing, but it's like, hey, paladin friend, you want to smite that? Yeah, it's a good idea. You should do that.
Yeah, so all that being said, we gave it a 3.5 on the synergy. Sure. Some nice utility options, but there is a cost. I'll just say that. It's a good way to summarize it.
Yep.
But yeah, guys, that's it. A very interesting, unique flavor take on the fighter. Very different.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But yeah, that's it for today, guys. Thanks again to our sponsors, Hit Point Press. Make sure you check them out. Check out their animated spell cards, their animated, all their stuff that they do, their Humblewood stuff, their BigBads.com.
They're little owl night guys. He's adorable.
They got all kinds of great stuff. So make sure you check them out, guys. And if you enjoyed the video, remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications so you know when all of our new videos are coming out. And as always, thanks for watching.